What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Boost Brothers Garage. Today we're going to do some oil mods drink on this 06 Cayman S. Stay tuned.
We're actually going to get ready to install an FVD sump. It's actually the sump baffle combo. Everybody seems to call this one the holy grail of oil fixes for this engine. So really looking forward to showing you guys. These are actually an E socket on these bolts, and this one I think is an E10. Hold on, yep. So these little guys on the pan do require a special socket. So if you guys are going to do this, you definitely want to make sure you have an E socket. Do not try to use a 6.10 millimeter. You will round them off. You may not round them all off, but you're going to at least get one of them.
It's not bad enough that we have to pay $600 for a sump, but we also have to buy special tools.
Yes. No matter how long you've let this thing sit and drip drain, there's still going to be some oil captive in this oil pan, or actually the sump cover. There's a total of 13 bolts around the perimeter of the sump cover. I'm just finishing taking the last few of them out, sealed up with a liquid sealant. And it's a little warm. Look at you. Woo! One of the plagues of buying a car that is used and you don't really know what you're buying. This actually had already had the upgraded baffles in it, but they just did the baffles. There was no added oil. It was just protecting from slosh. Most of you know that that's not a true fix. That's what the upgraded baffles look like. All right, so now we've got the pans here side by side, and what you're seeing is this is the FVD full sump and baffle kit. This adds just about a quart of oil to the overall oil capacity. And then here's the factory with just the baffle. So you can tell baffle design is really close. The only difference is what you can't see here in the image is that there is a spacer for your pickup tube, which allows your pickup tube to drop down into this sump. But it also has cooling fins built into it, which is really nice. It's not an incredibly huge amount of fins, but anything helps in the way of cooling when it comes to oil. This is the spacer that you have for the pickup tube. You can see that it's sealed on one side and it's flat on the other, and that's because the seal is already incorporated into the pickup tube, and then you use this side and it's the mating surface for the pickup itself.
So this car's got a few mods to it. We'll quickly run over and talk about them while we're letting the rest of the oil drain. Number one, it's got the Getty design front splitter on the car. I think if you remember, when we were at Putnam Park a few weeks ago, we discussed this splitter with you guys and asked for opinions. It's really good looking on this car. It's the one piece, looks great. It's got the LED spars. It's also got the OZ Ultra Logeras, you know we can't pronounce shit over here.
Titanium lug nuts.
Titanium lug nuts. I looked at those online one time, and then I realized I'd have to save for 4 months to be able to buy them. So I started looking at other stuff. This car's also got a FabSpeed catback exhaust with stock headers on it. So I'm sure it sounds pretty good as well. Not as good as Soul. Looks like we also have a set of agency power mirrors on here, full carbon. I am jealous right now. And if you take a peek in the interior, they have the Porsche sport seats, of course yellow, with the optional yellow belt and yellow center console, reminiscent of the Cayman R. And it looks like it's got some little carbon fiber accessories like the knob and maybe some carbon fiber wrap. The owner states that there's a short shifter in here as well, so maybe once we get it on the ground, we can see how reduced the throws are and see if that's something that we want to look at investing in.
Now on to the spacer for the pickup tube. As you can tell, this has got the factory O-ring in it. The O-ring in this simulates what's going on there. Whenever you're doing anything with an O-ring, we want to actually pre-lube that as much as you can. And then, as you can tell, this goes on top of there. New bolts are supplied. As you can tell, they're longer, and I just dropped one, and I dropped the other one. And that's so you can make it all the way through the spacer and up into the block. When you're taking out the pickup tube, it is actually the E10s that we were also talking about when you drop the pan or the sump cover. The new ones are a metric 5 bolt So it's a metric 5 socket head cap screw, just a regular Allen.
And guys, look how clean it is up here. Honest to God, nobody touched anything. This is just what it looked like once we pulled the sump down. Now that it's been seen that there's aftermarket baffles in there, that maybe makes a little bit more sense, but still, that's a pretty clean car to have something
It is very clean.
that clean.
Yes, very. All right, so here we go. It's really warm, so if you see me acting like a total pansy, it's because it's like 200 degrees underneath here. On to what we're going to use to seal this sump cover. I use Seal, but it's made by Victor Rines. It's a anaerobic sealant, really nice stuff. What we'll do is we'll actually go around the outside bead. We'll make sure all the bolt holes and everything are covered. And I'm actually going to clean it probably before we go because we've been touching it barehanded and it's gotten a little oily. Before I do that, I want to dry fit this cover for a few reasons. One, make sure nothing's going to hit. If you guys remember the video with my GTI where that sweet new pan that I had was causing collision. Not going to have that happen here because the rotating assembly is completely encased in a nice little block, but nonetheless, I want to make sure I'm not going to run into any issues once I have this wet with RTV. Fits in there really nicely. They've got little rubber pads that run along the sides of the baffles that keep it pretty well centered and sealed. And then, oh, that's going up good. There's something holding me up, but it's probably me, not the pan.
Something about a 60-degree tilt to the left going in.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, nope. Nope. So I actually found out why I can't get it really fitted in there. These edges here on the baffles actually go right up against the inside of the block. What it seems like is there's a ledge for these to ride in, and I'm just not pushing it into place. So I'm going to try to give it a little bit more force. But I can see where these little rubber edges are riding. So I'm going to give it a little bit push. So we dry fitted it. You do need to massage it into place. I just now found that when it shipped, something must have pulled the baffles in just a little bit. I spread them just gently with my fingers, just pull them apart, and they slid right up into the little galley. So now I'm going to apply the Seal or whatever anaerobic sealant that you want to use that you may be partial to. I've used Yamabond, I've used others. This is just the one that they recommend and I usually use. You want to be very sparing with this. The reason for it is you don't want that when you bolt and you make the two surfaces together, you don't want a ton of squeeze out on the inside. It's okay if you have squeeze out on the outside because you can just go around with a rag and get it. You definitely don't want squeeze out into the oil. What'll happen over time is that it will break loose in the oil pan or in the oil system, and then that will get into the pickup tube. In the pickup tube there's a screen, but what it'll end up doing is it'll clog that screen and then the oil can't be picked up. It can be catastrophic if you do too much. Obviously if you just get a little bit it's not as big of a deal, but you definitely want to try to limit how much of that happens. So I'm just going to go around the edge here, wait for it to fill the nozzle and it'll start coming out. There we go. So I usually start with a bead and then I work it around with my finger. I go paper thin. You notice that there's two lines. I try to make it bead up towards the center, and I usually try to do that as much as I can. Obviously around the bolt holes, this is where all the pressure is, so you want to make sure that you go through and keep it light. So I got it all sealed up, and now we're going to put it up into the car. So here we go. Oh, there it went.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just running these down. I'm not going to start torquing them yet, but I'm going to get all the bolts in first.
Need to see if they make one of these for the M96.
I think so. Right now, I have went by and torqued them all, but I'm going to go back and double check that I hit them all. These go in about the equivalent of about 14 foot-pounds. Not a whole lot, right? So don't go crazy with them. They are going into aluminum, and you definitely want to use a torque wrench. There's not a lot of push out. There's some leftover push out on over here, but there's not a whole lot of push out. That means that I didn't go too crazy with the RTV sealant, so I'm happy there. Next, I'm going to put the plugs back into this pan, and we're going to put the oil in it, fire it up, and make sure that it's not leaking.
We had to take a brief What, siesta? Is that what you call it? We'll call it that.
Yes, is good.
Because we drank bourbon while we did it.
Yeah, we did.
But we had to switch out the battery. Good thing we had the Cayman here. Please don't judge me.
Why are you doing me like that?
She just donated her battery to make sure that this one can get out of the shop. See, she's still good for something. And after a few checks, let's see. We are looking good to go. Thomas, what's in your green cup?
A little bit of Jefferson Ocean. A little celebratory drink.
Not a paid advertisement.
This is not a paid advertisement.
Voyage 13.
Oh, Voyage 13.
So there was 12 before it.
What's that?
There was 12 voyages
It was,
before
and
it.
we drank them. So,
Yeah, so Fred's gonna start this thing up, get it out of the shop, and we're gonna see if it'll light them up on the way out.